Hello and welcome back to Out of Possession. And today we're moving away from our usual top of the table Big Six talk. And instead we're looking at the bottom of the Premier League and talking about the relegation battle, which with Tottenham in it, you could also argue is still Big Six talk. And who better to join me to talk about this than Jacob Horsfall, a man that is arguably an expert in relegation. Just for the people who maybe aren't aware of your channel, Jacob, can you just tell them the type of videos you make and what you do basically online?
Just talk about football really. Do a bit of analysis on YouTube. Just waffle a lot really.
So I think you're also the first ever Northerner to join us on the show, apart from me. So
Really?
that's exciting.
Just full of posh people.
Full of posh people. So it's good to bring some grit to the bottom of the battle. But I think we're going to work our way up the table, if you like. We'll start at the bottom of the relegation scraps. I think there's four teams that you can argue are kind of in it for the possibility. We're assuming Wolves and Burnley are already down, which I think is quite a fair assumption given the 9-point gap Burnley have to West Ham. But then you have like a little clump of four teams. You have West Ham on 28 points, Forest also on 28 points, Tottenham 1 point above that on 29, and then Leeds 2 points above them on 31. I think you can just argue kind of still in the relegation battle, so we're going to touch on them as well. So we're going to start at the bottom with West Ham, who personally I think will be okay. I think they've got quite a good squad. They're on good form at the moment. Last 10 games, I think they're ninth or 10th in the form table. So it's looking good for them. What do you think?
I think the position that everyone's in really at the moment is they're all still in other competitions as well, which I think plays a big part in a relegation battle, and obviously them getting a result, whereas a few other teams didn't get that result. I think it boosts a lot of momentum for them, and I think momentum is one of the biggest things in a relegation scrap. Someone who stayed up so many times under Sean Dyche, we would just go on a run and we'd pick up enough momentum to maybe go 10 games unbeaten and keep us up. So I think I think West Ham have shown a lot of promise. There's some serious quality there. Like, I don't really understand how that sort of quality is in the position they're in. Like, arguably, when you look at some of the individuals, just arguably have better individuals than Tottenham do, in a sense. I think they're really enjoyable to watch as well, like the likes of Somerville and Matthias Fernandez, Malik Diouf. Again, it's also they give themselves a big mountain to climb.
I think you touched on the quality there of the West Ham have, but I just think the Premier League's so strong now. You look at every team and say, oh, they have a ridiculous amount of individual quality. Like, I think that about Nottingham Forest too, and we're going to get onto them. But you look at these squads and you just think, oh, they're too good to go down. They're too good to go down. But if everyone's too good to go down, no one's too good to go down. If you get,
would you say that about Tottenham though? Like, I look at Tottenham's squad and I don't think there's that many individuals that are that seriously out of this world that are fit anyway.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be going down, should they? When you look at the squad, I think Tottenham have a lot of like elite players.
I just think when I look at like Forest and West Ham, like I have more belief in that squad than I do in a Tottenham squad. Like, really, with the people who are fit, obviously they're suspended at the moment, but like Van der Ven, Romero, out of anyone else who's fit, maybe Archie Gray. There's not many other players that you look at in that team and go, you should be in the top half of the Premier League. You should be competing for Europe in the Premier League. Whereas I feel like with West Ham and Forest, there's so many players there who everyone's thinking, oh, if they go down, one of the top 5, one of the top 6 teams will come in and buy, a whole host of their players. Whereas I don't think Tottenham are in that category. And I just think maybe it's down to player recruitment. Maybe it's down to some players lacking that kind of motivation and desire to fight for Tottenham. But I just don't think, compared to like a West Ham or something, that their squad's comparable.
I disagree with that. I think they're very similar. I look at West Ham's squad now, and you look at they've got Callum Wilson up front. They've got that guy they brought from the Serie A who I haven't seen loads of, but in the 1 or 2 games I've watched, he hasn't impressed me loads. And like, yes, Somerville's a really good player. Obviously, Jared Bowen's a great player too. But that's just the thing with the Premier League, right? I think everyone's got this quality. I don't think West Ham have more quality necessarily than Tottenham, but like you say, they're the form team, right? And if we look at the fixtures, the last 3 performances, they've got a draw and then they won on penalties against Brentford in the FA Cup, which is a great victory for them. They beat Fulham. Fulham are a really good team. I think they've got loads of quality. They could push for Europe next year. Got a good victory there. They lost 5-2 to Liverpool, but in that game, I thought they played really well. They were arguably the better team. And when you look at the fixtures, they've got a tough next few. They've got Manchester City at home, Aston Villa away. But after that, it opens up for them quite nicely. Leeds at home, Wolves at home, Palace away, Everton at home, and Brentford away. I think that's quite a nice end to the season for them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham, given the form they're on as well, I think the benchmark's going to be around 40 points, like it usually is. And they're currently on... They're currently on 28. So if we're looking for 4 wins, really, from these games, Wolves at home, you'd think's a win. You'd say Leeds is probably a win. Everton, Brentford, Palace, they could win easily 4 of those games, I think. And it's whether you'll actually need 12 points as well, given the teams around them. But I think West Ham are quite safe.
Yeah, I can't imagine them going down. Like I said, I think they've shown enough for me, and the momentum that they're on should hopefully, well, not hopefully, I don't really care, but in terms of them, should hopefully carry them through to get past like what's been, like I say, up and down season. Like I was looking at some stats for some work a few weeks ago, and it's like between, I believe it's like September, from Nuno's coming into like the end of 2025, they were still absolutely shocking. And then this year, they've actually been really, really good. Like in 2026, I wouldn't know the table off the top of my head, but I guarantee you, in 2026, they're probably in the top 10 or there or thereabouts. And obviously that means nout because you've got to perform for longer than 4 months. But when it comes to form and that kind of battle, and when you've got teams like Tottenham and Forest even at the moment who are just struggling to buy a win, then it's obviously worth it, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we talked about fight as well, because I think that is a large part of a relegation battle. Quality can only get you so far. When it gets to the gritty moments, you need players who want to play at the end of it. And I look at a team like Tottenham and I look at maybe a player like Van de Ven and think, is he that bothered? Because if Tottenham go down, he's just going to move on and play for a Champions League, Europa League club next season anyway. And you can say the same about guys like Romero, guys like Xavi Simons. Like a large portion of Tottenham's squad won't suffer the consequences of a relegation, whereas I think a larger proportion of a West Ham squad would play in the Championship with them, and therefore they might be, I don't know, more inclined to try a bit harder, which sounds ridiculous to question
I think it's
the will of professional athletes, but it's a factor.
I think a lot of it's probably ego as well.
Yeah.
Like West Ham players, like there's probably a few of them still in that squad who've been there before with West Ham, where they've been closest to the bottom half of the table, like people like Jared Bowen and things like that. Whereas you look at this kind of Spurs team, like there's a lot of people who they've signed from other European leagues, which probably have gone from dominating that European league to come into the Premier League and obviously struggling. Like I think there was a report came out that apparently there's a few players who don't really care if they get relegated or not because they're just going to leave. Like it's such a different thing going from being at the top table to scrapping it out in the relegation where every game literally is a cup final to try and stay up. It's not quite the same. I think the pressure that is on those players as well is mental. Like you look at like the Kinski stuff, come off the pitch crying, like that's the pressure that's on this Tottenham team at the moment. And I think there's a lot of people who will just give up and not care. There's people who will crumble under pressure, and then you need someone to stand up and be counted. Like West Ham, I suppose, have like Jared Bowen scoring twice the other night. Like you need someone to just stand up and take a lot of the pressure off. And I don't think Igor Tudor's necessarily doing that in the way he should. I genuinely think Tottenham would have been better off getting Ange back purely just for the way he distracts the media and takes the media away from the players, allows the players to play. Whereas you've got Igor Tudor, who's maybe doesn't have that same protective nature around the players, which in this position, like putting the player, like having the Mickey van der Ven doomsday quote is like just would never have happened under Ange Postecoglou. And I'm not saying Ange is the guy who would have kept them up or anything like that, but purely for getting momentum, getting belief, kind of galvanising the team, Igor Tudor doesn't seem like he can do that.
No. Just quickly to finish on West Ham, if we rewind back to the 6th of January, they lost 2-1 to Nottingham Forest on that day. And at that point, I think West Ham were like 7-8 points off Forest or Tottenham, whoever it was in 17. It looked like they were down, and they've managed to galvanise themselves and come back to this point. Yeah. So I think West Ham are despite being at the bottom, if you like, they're in probably the best position out of the main three. Which brings us on to Nottingham Forest, who again, like, I look at their squad and think you have way too much individual quality to go down.
I think it's one of them where it's like the change for them, I think, has been obviously the managerial thing was mental. They've been through like obviously the player quality obviously does play a part, but when you go through what you've gone from Nuno playing his sort of version of like low block, counter-attacking football, we're not going to get in their face when we don't have the ball, to then Ange Postecoglou, who is the complete opposite of that, then only giving Ange a month because they were struggling, knowing full well they probably didn't know Marinakis, going from that sort of Nuno football to Ange football was just never going to happen in a month, and then going back to Sean Dyche football. So why didn't you just get him in the first place when you sacked Nuno? And then going from that to Vitor Pereira now, which I suppose the Dyche to Vitor Pereira is not as a mental of a change, but going through that many managers in one season, when I was even looking like Dyche hadn't actually done that bad in terms of the win rate and getting a few results. Obviously, the football's never going to be great under Dyche. Nuno, the sacking there is an absolute disgrace. And I think if he relegates them with West Ham, that is so deserved. And then obviously, Ange was just a little bit like, what the hell are we doing here? But they obviously do have a lot of quality. And like people like Elliot Anderson being relegated is mental. But that change and constantly chopping and changing comes back to bite you. How are players supposed to know their roles when they've played 6 different roles this season?
Yeah, it's exactly that as well. And the thing is, the roles are so contrasting, right? To go from a Nuno to a Ange, it's almost like 2 separate sides of the tactical spectrum, if you like. It's just a bizarre choice. And you can kind of understand why Nuno went, obviously not for footballing reasons, but for ego reasons with Marinakis. If he's going to go, he's going to go. It is what it is. But then to replace him with a guy who doesn't align with what Nuno was doing when Nuno was successful, I just find utterly bizarre. And you look at the squad as well and think it was never going to work because the team's built around Nuno's style of football. It's built for box defending in terms of your centre-backs, massive guys like Milinkovic, and then counter-attacking, right? So why are you bringing in a guy who wants to press out the pitch, play this like high-level, high-ceiling football, if you like? It's utterly bizarre. To then pivot again and go all the way back the other way to a Sean Dyche as well, there's no strategy there. It's mental. But just like, even down to your players, like even Morgan Gibbs-White going down's crazy. Like Murillo going down, Olarena, who was considered one of the best fullbacks in the league last season. There's so much individual quality throughout the squad.
It's like that talk about like momentum. Like Forest haven't necessarily ever, from what I can remember anyway, put together a serious run where you think, right, they're doing well here, they're going to pick up, they're going to continue this run. And I think that's maybe probably a problem for them, is maybe again instilling that belief in the players that they are good enough to stay up. Like they've had so many problems, and I think especially in the final third, like Chris Wood not being the same Chris Wood of last season, which they had to say I told you so, but I did, isn't really helping them. Like the amount of goals he scored last season was ridiculous, and now this season it feels like every other week I'm seeing Nottingham Forest 25 shots, 0 goals. Like they did it last night against Myland, and then they also did it a few weeks ago just before Sean Dyche was sacked. I believe that was against Wolves. Like they are a good team who create some good chances, who can control games, who can maintain pressure, who can defend space. Like there's a lot going on there. That's pretty all right. But as soon as you get to that final third, it feels like they're relying on Elliot Anderson to do something world class or Gibb White to do something world class. And if they don't do that, then I feel like they're in big trouble against anyone, really. Like even when I'm trying to think when we played them and we drew 0-0. And it was like they never really threatened. I know we drew 1-1, but they never really threatened in open play, even though they did have a good few chances. And I think that's like the problem with Forest. Like a lot of people were saying to me yesterday they need a goal scorer, and it's like you went and spent a lot of money on Igor Jesus. Like that's supposed to be your goal scorer. But he's probably more built for Nuno's football of, maybe holding the play up, sending wingers through. And obviously it doesn't help with injuries, but I think that's definitely where they could falter, is not putting games away when they really should do.
They do seem to be more successful almost in the games you consider harder. Like a lot of the fixtures that you look at think, oh, they should pick up points there. That's an easier one. They don't seem to pick up the points. Like just recently, like 1-1 Crystal Palace, 0-0 Wolves, lost to Fenerbahce in the cup. That's quite a difficult game, but 2-1 loss against Brighton, who are maybe a weaker side at the moment, especially. And then in the harder games, you've got a 0-0 against Arsenal, a great result. You've got a narrow 1-0 defeat to Liverpool, which is again a good effort. And then obviously the 2-2 against Manchester City recently. Like I think they are thriving in these games because these are the games where they're platformed for. It's the games they've built a squad for. Especially someone like Igor Jesus. I haven't watched much Forest against the lower tier opposition, but when I've watched him against your Arsenals, when I've watched him against us, Manchester City, I think I've been really impressed. I think he holds up the ball really well. He's a good transitional striker, and it's a matter of being able to use him that way rather than trying to.
I think the problem with Igor Jesus is he takes 10 to 15 working days to pull a shot off. Like his movement's actually quite good in the box, to a sense. Like maybe not good, but I don't mind his movement in the box. But then when he gets there, like he's just not. He doesn't snap at it. He doesn't smash through it. He doesn't pull the trigger quick enough. And I think that's probably why he's not scored as many goals. But I actually like against Liverpool the other week when they were at the City ground. There was loads of times Igor Jesus, I think, got through twice, took too long and got tackled. And it was like, just shoot, just pull the trigger, just hit the target. But in terms of hold-up and build-up play, I think he's actually really good. I remember watching him under Dyche, and I really, really thought that was going to go well. Obviously, it didn't go as well as I probably anticipated. But, yeah, I do like Jesus. It's just they need some goals.
Yeah. I think Elliot Anderson has stepped up in the last game at least, scoring that great goal against City. And again, you look at the squad and think, you've got match winners here, you'll probably be all right. But again, everyone has match winners in these big players, so I don't think it necessarily works like that. But this midfield three, if you like, even though they don't play like that, of Gibbs, White, Sangare and Anderson is ridiculously good to go down.
Yeah, I think like when you watch them, they just complement each other so well as well. Like it is a really, really perfect midfield three. But I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, but Sangare's missed a fair few games through injury this season. I could be wrong, but I believe he has done, or maybe through AFCON or something like that. And I know Forest, I'm pretty sure, had a fair dip when he was out the side, because he's like that anchor, isn't he? He allows Elliot Anderson to bomb forward, carry the ball in the final third, drag Forest forward. And I mean, we don't really need to talk about Elliot Anderson. He's a joke.
That's wonderful.
He'll be at City or United or whoever you want come the end of the season. But it's whether or not he can one last little hurrah and drag Forest out of this battle that they're in. And it's a tough task, but I think Elliot Anderson has the quality. If you wanted anyone to be doing it, you'd want Elliot Anderson.
I think as a City fan, I'm probably rooting for Forest to go down just so you can get a little discount on Elliot Anderson, because he is just unbelievable. There's an Instagram account called Gradient Sports, and they compile a load of Opta data into passing grades or shooting grades or whatever it is. Elliot Anderson is always at the top of anything that you'd want a defensive midfielder to do, like consistently, no matter what it is, like progressive passing, ball winning, ball carrying. He's always up there. He's a ridiculous player. So I just find it to have someone of his like elite quality and still be down there just shows how good the Premier League is at the moment. Maybe not right at the top, but from your fifth all the way down to about 18th, the quality every team has is insane. Just to touch on your point about Forest having XG again earlier, if you look at the numbers, they are creating not miles more actually than their competitors, which is surprising. I think they have 34 XG for the season. West Ham are on 35. Tottenham are slightly lower on 30, but Tottenham have massively overperformed, which has helped them. But your point of them maybe not putting away chances is true. They've scored 28 goals from 34 XG, and that's your difficulty, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a massive underperformance, but like when I've watched them and like the way they've actually performed, even though some of their chances are like actually just not getting on the end of crosses, which obviously don't register as XG. I just feel like if they had a proper star striker, someone like Chris Wood was last season, like they would be so far clear of this battle. It is untrue, but obviously Chris Wood's, I believe he's been through a few injuries and just not really been at it. And obviously they don't have anyone else to come in and replicate the goals he had last season.
Yeah, I think you can say that about almost any team, though. I think any team that isn't at the point they want to be at says, oh, we just need a striker and then it's all fixed. I think it very rarely is that simple. But with Forest, maybe it is because they are ridiculously strong across the pitch elsewhere.
Yes, I mean, everywhere else is so solid.
There is also the factor of European football as well, right? They've had those extra fixtures. Do they have the depth to deal with it? That's a factor. And they're still in Europe now. Obviously, they lost 1-0 last night. So maybe they won't be in a week's time, which might actually help them in the Premier League battle, which I think you've probably got to favour right now.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. If I was them, I'd be looking at the Premier League.
I think it's a similar situation with Tottenham as well. Obviously, I think they're out of Europe now unless a miracle happens.
Yeah.
But at the moment, Tottenham sit 1 point above Nottingham Forest and West Ham, and somehow I think they're favourites to go down because in the last 10 games, they've got a grand total of 2 points, which is mental. I don't know about you, but I'd consider Tottenham the favourites to go down.
Yeah, me too. Like, there's just nothing there for me. There's like, in terms of from everything, from quality, from the desire, from the fight, from an elite tactician as a manager, anything like that. Like, they just have nothing, and their games aren't necessarily getting any easier at the current moment. Anyway, like, I feel like it does ease off a little bit, but as of right now, like, still in Europe, still got to go to Anfield this weekend. Like, it's not easy.
No, and we've seen a snowball effect almost with Tottenham recently. Since Igor has come in, it's been really bad. I think you're at the point now where he's only on a 6-month contract. The monetary loss from sacking him isn't that big to the point where the club would suffer. I think that it's quite low risk because it physically cannot get any worse. I'd pull the trigger and just bring someone in to try and get a bit of a bounce. Because we look at the upcoming fixtures, Anfield away is difficult. Then they've got Atletico Madrid at home midweek. They're already out of that. It's irrelevant. And then they've got an opportunity to get some points on the board. Nottingham Forest at home is a massive game for them. Sunderland away, difficult game, but it's winnable. Brighton at home, Wolves away. And then your last 3 are difficult. You've got Villa away, Leeds at home, which again could be a huge game, and you finish Chelsea away. But when you look at these fixtures, you've got to be beating Nottingham Forest, and that's the bottom line of it. And do you think they can do that under Tudor? I think it's debatable.
Yeah, like I say, it's just like, I feel like the Forest players and the West Ham players who have probably, or even the culture of them two clubs where they've been here before, like they've been in these fights, like Forest have been in these fights before, maybe not this exact group of players, but there's a few of them who are in this group of players that probably were as well. And then West Ham as well, same with them, like their fans know what it's like to be in these positions, maybe don't have I don't think the fans have this arrogance, but I feel like maybe as a club, there's maybe more of an arrogance that comes away from Tottenham, not in the fan base. I wouldn't say that about the fans, but in terms of like just this way that everything's presented about Tottenham, the way you see the players speak, the way the manager speaks, like it's always very like egocentric with them, rather than maybe, say sorry to the fans. That would go down well. Like maybe a West Ham or a Forest kind of, maybe just have this more connection and more sympathy for the fans for the position they're in because they've been there before. Whereas Tottenham, like, I don't know, it feels so off with them in terms of like the connection to the fans, the way the players speak in the media, the way the manager talks. Like, Igor Tudor came in for a relegation battle, and the first thing he did was tell everyone the same thing that every other Spurs manager has ever said, saying that there's big problems at this club. You're here for a relegation battle for the next 3 months. Just do that. You don't need to come out and start calling out the ownership. No one, like, as much as, it's great and it's right, but no one cares at this point. Like, with Spurs fans, I guarantee you they do not care at the moment who owns the club, as long as they stay up.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, in this battle, it's quite unique, isn't it? 'Cause all the pressure's on Spurs. Everyone wants to see Spurs go down.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes it slightly easier for the other teams in it. I'm not sure. But it almost feels like they're resigned to relegation already, even though when you look at the fixtures, you look at the table at the moment, the quality of the squads, they've arguably got a slight advantage. But you look at people like Ben Bowman, Seb, and even Kish, they're all resigned to we're down already, and they're not down already. You're still in this fight.
But I think a lot of it as well is that is just going from a Tottenham position to the position of let's say Burnley, for example. Obviously, comparing Burnley and Tottenham in 2026 is mental, but imagine Burnley were in the position Tottenham are in where let's say we haven't won in 2026, we are 3 points away from the drop. I guarantee you, Burnley Stadium would be packed out every week. And I'm not saying Tottenham fans don't do that, but I just feel like the vibe between the fan bases will be so different purely because Tottenham shouldn't be here. Because of the fall off that they've been through, I feel like people like Ben and Seb and Kish are you almost go to, well, I didn't think this could get any worse before. It quite clearly can. What means it's not going to get even worse? In your brain, going from where they were to where they are now, there's nothing that tells them that they won't go down. And I do genuinely think that Tottenham are, as of right now, the favourites, unless they go to Anfield and get something. But I just feel I feel for the fans. How do you go from being where Spurs have been, Champions League final, winning things, over a prolonged period of time? We're not just talking about a Leicester where they came through for a bit, won a few trophies and then kind of disappeared within 10 years. Tottenham have been at the top of the table for so long now. To be in this position is nothing short of a disgrace. And I think a lot of it is on the ownership, is on the people who are in charge of the people that are coming in. Bringing in so many of these young players, which, yes, is probably the right model for the long term. But when you've just finished 17th in the Premier League, you do need to possibly do a little bit more than that. Or when you've just got Champions League under Ange Postecoglou, you probably need to give him a little bit more than a winger from Burnley who's young and, could become really good. And I'm Wilson Oliver's biggest fan, but it just feels like they never give themselves the best opportunity. And even when they were good under Pochettino, it still didn't feel like they ever gave themselves the best opportunity. And now it's obviously coming back to bite them. And honestly, if they go down, I've been saying it for a decent while now. At first, I thought they won't go down. Now, there is zero surprise if Tottenham drop into the relegation zone, and that could happen this weekend. If West Ham and Forest get the right results, Spurs could be in the drop zone, which is mental.
I just think the element of the players just not giving a shit at all, I think is massive. I look at the squad, and even though in reality, are these guys actually better than what Nottingham Forest have, than what West Ham have? Probably not, but they've got European pedigree, and that means they will move on. Is Paulinho a better player than Ibrahim Sangare?
That's a good debate,
Maybe not, but the reality is, if Spurs go down, Paulinho is not going to play in the Championship. Sangare very, very possibly could. And is Pape Sarr going to play in the Championship? Absolutely no chance. Is Mateus Tell going to play in the Championship? No. Solanke's not going to be there. Kolomuani's not going to be there. Even someone like Archie Gray, I could easily see him moving on. I just don't think any of this squad give a shit because they're not going to be there and suffer the consequences of it.
It's egos, isn't it? They've got, like I said, you look at Xavi Simons, where he came from, playing in. He came from PSV, didn't he?
Originally.
Or
he came directly from Leipzig. They bought
Leipzig, yes, sorry. But he's gone from Leipzig, who, compete at the top of the Bundesliga and all that jazz. And then you look at some of the other players that they managed to bring in. Archie Gray is probably someone who we've actually seen, when it's stick or twist time, he's stuck. He's dug in. Yeah. He's probably been their best player over the last few games. And I think that's because he knows what it's like to play for a club who have been in this position. He's from Leeds. He's a Leeds fan. He grew up watching Leeds do a Leeds and be in the position that they are in consistently. He probably grew up with Leeds not even in the Premier League. And I think, not to sound daft, because obviously bringing players in from Europe is absolutely essential. But I do feel at times when you're in this sort of position, maybe bringing someone in who's gone from an elite European club to coming into a team who are now in the position they are in, which no one really expected them to do again, to be in this area again, is possibly a problem. Like Xavi Simons is kind of probably used to being afforded that luxury of, I'll have a bad game, but I can bounce back next week. And, I'm a little bit tired, I can wait, and then I'll go get on the ball and I'll make something happen. And I feel like I'm digging about here, and it's not necessarily just Xavi Simons. It's like so many of them players. But it's like, you can't do that in this position. In a relegation battle, every single game is a Europa League final. Every single game is a cup final that you have to go out there and get something from. And if you are going to fade out games, you can't be in a relegation battle, because especially when the teams around you... All right, then. Especially when the teams around you are playing you... I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Then you do need to be able to show up. And I think, like I said, people like Archie Gray get that. People like Archie Gray know that. And that's why he's been so good. I think he understands the position Tottenham are in.
Yeah, I just think Xavi Simons has been so unbelievably bad this year.
Just underwhelming.
More than any other player. Like you mentioned there, him being able to maybe have a few bad games at Leipzig and then have the good ones. I don't think he's had any good games for Tottenham. Maybe the 2-2 against City. I thought he was okay.
Leeds away was good.
But they're very, very few and far between. Like it is 5 games at most. And for a guy who they brought in for, what was it, around 50, 60 million, I think? Yeah. That's terrible. Like, it's abysmal. And yes, he isn't platformed effectively. Like, everyone knows Spurs need a more progressive passing DM. It's all anyone's talked about in that space for the first half of the season. And instead they bought Conor Gallagher in January, which, again, is... it makes no sense because they've already got that profile. But even with that considered, I just think he's offered nothing. Like in the final third creatively, he's been weak off the ball. He's been weak on the ball as well. Like so poor.
I do think he's one of the most step up. I do think he's massively misprofiled. Like
100%.
I think Tottenham wanted something. They probably wanted maybe an all-action number 10. With obviously that's kind of what Kulusevski can do in a sense when he's fit. Like he is maybe more all-action. And then you've got someone like James Maddison who brings you that little bit of fizz, that little bit of pass, that little bit of pizzazz, some would say. But with Xavi Simons, it's like I think they thought they were probably getting maybe a nice combined player of Maddison a little bit with a little bit of the flair in the passing, and then a little bit of Kulusevski where he could, get in the final third and shoot. That's just not really what he is. Like you want him doing quick combination play in the final third, maybe not having too much of the ball in terms of taking lots of touches. Whereas they've got somebody they want to come deep, come get on the ball, come drive us forward. And Xavi Simons doesn't have the physical or athletic kind of prowess, I don't think, to play in the Premier League and come and get the ball from the 18-yard box and drive Spurs forward. He's better, maybe driving in the final third or popping a 1-2 with someone. And I think that's just a huge error by Tottenham. They probably saw a good market opportunity there, which it is. It still is a good market opportunity. What was it, 50, 60 million for Xavi Simons? Like, eventually he's going to be great. I stand by that. Maybe not for Tottenham, but he'll be great. And I think they just jumped at the market opportunity, which wouldn't surprise me with Tottenham.
I think we can talk about all this as well, but the reality is injuries have significantly hurt them. Like, if I'm looking at this Tottenham squad, I think the best 3 players are very arguably Kudos, Maddison, Kulusevski. And all 3 of them are out injured, which should this Tottenham team be in that position, even with that? Absolutely not. But it is a factor, especially Kudos out injured, because all they did for the whole first half of the season was give the ball Pedro Porro, let him pass it to Kudos, and then Kudos is going to be good enough to do something and drive us up the pitch. And without him on the pitch, they have no way of progressing the ball. And that is when they've really nosedived. I think up to about 10 games ago, it was like, oh, they could go down. It was a bit of a joke, right? They won't actually go down. Kudos gets injured, and it's just absolutely dive bomb. 2 points from the last 10 games or whatever it is abysmal. I just don't see a way out of it for them unless they sack Tudor and maybe try and roll the dice again. But even then, I don't think it's a manager. Why not, man? Why not? It's worth a go.
He's mental. Like, he would keep them up, Daesh, but it's like, imagine saying like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, or whoever, to the Tottenham fans that are watching that Champions League final against Liverpool, in 2026, you're going to be signing a manager for the last 10 games to come and be a firefighter and keep you in the Premier League by the skin of your teeth. Like, they'd actually just, what the fuck you on about, man?
I mean, there's rumours they're going to go for Harry Redknapp back, which I don't think he's managed for about.
I swear he's going on the jungle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's in Australia. It's like there is anything that they can do to try and get out of it. I think they have to do. I just find the decision to sack Thomas Frank in the moment they did as well, I find interesting, because when you look at the underlying numbers, which these are Premier League teams, they should be looking at data, and I'm sure they are looking at data, right? They'll spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on it. But the underlying numbers for Thomas Frank were the 3-4 games before they sacked him. They were getting like significantly better. They weren't bad at all. And when they were in the position they were in at that point, which wasn't make or break, I just stuck it out for another 3 or 4 and just see if anything.
I think he kind of lost his ability to have that faith because of the first half of the season. Like, if it had been like November and it had been like, 5 games where they'd been good, but maybe not amazing, I think then he probably would have been trusted with that and they would have probably let him off. But because they'd been so bad and there was not really any signs of progress, to then make a little bit of progress, it was probably like a little bit too late.
I think that's fair. Obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, it's easy to say these things, but in the moment, when you have to make a decision, it is what it is. I do think Igor Tudor was just a bizarre coach to bring in. So I don't think anyone looked at that and went, "Oh, that's inspiring." I think that will make things significantly better. Oh, where do they go? What do you think they can do to stay in the league? The squad is good enough to stay up on paper.
Honestly, what they can do in the league, I don't even know, because it's like I say, like, that squad's good enough. Like, it should all work. I think it's the belief and it's the character. Like, they need someone to come in there, take the kind of media burden off them, and just tell them, boys, just fucking play football. Like, you're good enough to do it. Like Ange did, in the Europa League. Like, Ange took all of that stick when, a large part of what happened to Ange is similar to what happened to Frank, in terms of he had loads of injuries. He had players underperforming. He had players doing stupid things, whereas no one really gave him that leeway. It was always, Ange's done this. Ange's being suicidal with his high line, whatever. Which just isn't fair. And I think they do need someone just to come in there and just mentally try and get them together. Because it's been 2 rough seasons for them now. Obviously, they won a European title last season, but it's still rough for a lot of them players to go through what they did go through last season and then repeat it again.
Yeah, I think it's about galvanization at this point. Because with Thomas Frank, I don't think the squad and Thomas Frank never seem to really get along. There always seem to be like media narratives coming out that, this player hates him, this player hates him. It never seemed right. And I think there's the same thing with Igor Tudor. I think his first press conference, we talked about it earlier, he came out, they asked him about Kulusevski, and he just went, "I don't know who that is," or something bizarre like that. Like, he doesn't feel connected to the fans, and I think that's gone. I don't think you're ever going to get that with any manager. But I think the manager has to galvanise these players and say, it's us versus them. Let's go and stay up. Let's not embarrass ourselves. And Igor Tudor's not the guy to do that. We saw with Jed Spence coming off, with Kinski coming off, he just ignored them. Like, you cannot do that no matter how bad that player's been.
No, yeah, 100%. Like, it is just like on a human level, and I get it from both sides. Like, for Igor Tudor, he's probably thinking, we do not have room to make any mistakes. Yeah, like, if we get battered here, that could ruin our season even more. Like, that could kill the confidence of the players. But it's also like, on a human level, and like the players respecting you, you've got to show a little bit of courtesy. Just give him something. You know what I mean? Like, speak to him before you take him off. Tell him what you're thinking, or even when he did come off, give him something, show him something, apologise for having to take him off and explain, rather than letting him run down the tunnel crying. Like, it's not, just everything there just doesn't feel like what you need to stay up, to be honest, in this position.
Who do you think in the squad will play in the Championship? I think that's an interesting conversation. Maybe jumping the gun slightly, but I look through it and I just think they're going to have to sell, like, out of the 25-man squad, 15 odd players. I don't know if that's possible.
I'm trying to think. I think, like, you get away with Jed Spence. You'll get, Vuskovic will leave. Then you'll get, Danzel could potentially stay. Dragusin could potentially stay, but I think they'd probably try and get rid of him, to be honest. For fullbacks, I'm trying to think.
Maybe Ben Davies.
That Sousa would probably stay. Midfield, Archie Gray's like one of them where, like, you'll have suitors, but like I was saying before about him kind of knowing the situation, I wouldn't be surprised if Archie Gray stayed round, maybe became captain in the Championship and took them back up to the Premier League. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised. I think James Maddison's an interesting one. Could be coming back from injury, and he's kind of at the not necessarily closest stage of his career, but he's getting a little bit further older. Like, typically, I would have probably said James Maddison's quite a loyal guy in that sense. Like, I think he probably, if he'd been fit this full season and they'd gone down, I would have imagined him staying with them, but I can't imagine him doing that now. I think Kulusevski, again, probably gone. Solanke gone. Richarlison gone. In attack, Odobert probably stay purely because he's out till January with an ACL injury. Kudus, someone has to come and get him. Someone chasing Europe. Who else? Probably all of the wingers. But he's still... He'd probably go as well, He'd probably go as well, I think, with his kind of, like... It's not necessarily like he's been treated well, is it, at Tottenham?
No.
So he'd probably want out, like... Yeah, they're in a tough position. Like, anyone you can think of is probably going to try and jump ship.
It's like that. Sorry, it's like that first transfer window of Football Manager when you come into the team and you just sell everyone and bring in like 50 players, and it's like that works fine in a video game, but I don't think you can. How do you go about that in real life? The turnover is going to be ridiculous. They're going to have to buy. At least 10 players.
Well, I remember when we first went down after 7 years under Dyche in the Premier League, and we got company in. We lost 15 players, either through free agents or sales. I'm pretty sure going into, not into Huddersfield, but like the first pre-season games, we had 10 senior players on the books, and the rest of the squad was just academy players. And then obviously we ended up spending 22 million and bringing in like a full new squad.
There is the question as well of whether Spurs go straight back up, because I think they probably will, right? The natural suggestion is but the Championship's hard. There's good teams in the Championship.
People really underestimate how hard that league is, and I think like. When we look at Spurs, we're like, whenever the pressure's been on Spurs, really, they've crumbled. Like, sorry, jeez, I can't stop yawning. Like, in that, even in the final against Man United, like, I wouldn't say the pressure was on Tottenham, really. Right, I think a lot of the media pressure was more on Manchester United, if I can remember correctly. And they ended up getting the job done. And then it's like, whenever it feels like they've got a lot of pressure on Tottenham, they do seem to kind of falter. It's like, in the Championship, that is the most pressure that club will be under. Like, in terms of, they will be expected to win every single week. If they drop any points, that's instantly headlines. They go away to Oxford and get a 0-0. That's in the headlines instantly. They need to be breaking 100 points just for it to be like, well, it's still incredibly embarrassing, but like slightly less embarrassing, which is obviously like being able to do that is so much harder than what people think, I think.
It's the ripple effect of it as well, isn't it? Because going down, it massively hurts your finances in these 3-year periods. If you've got one of those periods where you've been out of Premier League money, that significantly hurts what you can then bring in. Like, it's not, it's 1 year down and then we come straight back up. It's we've had 1 year down, and then it's years and years of trying to build the squad back up to what it is now, which, given the position they're in, yeah, you could say, oh, the squad's rubbish. But on paper, the squad looks pretty good. Like, at the start of the season, most people had Spurs around the European spots at least. Like, and to get the squad back up to that level, find players like Vuskovic, who's fantastic, and you're going to lose him for what is a really cheap price if you do go down. That's difficult, and it takes seasons and seasons and seasons. So I feel like we've kind of resigned to the fact that Spurs are already down. But they're not already down. They could stay.
They're not, no. But it's just like, I just don't see how, when, or who turns it around for them. Like, I think the only way they could possibly stay up is if one of the other teams are worse than them. Like, yeah, obviously that's common sense, but I mean more so like they're not going to stay up by like their own grit. Like, I don't think they're going to pull themselves out of this situation. Like, I think it's going to be like a West Ham or a Forest or whatever go on a mental losing run, can't seem to get a result, and Tottenham stay up by getting like minimum points that they can possibly get over the next few games, rather than it being Tottenham are going to get themselves together, they're going to go win 3 games in a row and they're going to survive. Like, I just don't think they've got that in them.
No. The bar is, I think, three wins for Tottenham, I reckon, keeps them up. And that is possible with the fixtures they've got. They've got Wolves, they've got Sunderland away is a difficult game, but Sunderland at the moment I don't think are too hot. Forest at home, Leeds at home. Like, the fixtures are there for them to go and do it. And at the moment, I don't see them winning any of those games. But equally, football can change so fast. Like, if you go to Anfield on Sunday, get a massive win miraculously, like, the confidence is suddenly there again. And then you won't put it past them to go and win 2 more games. In fact, it becomes quite likely. So in this current moment, I'd agree with you. But equally, momentum in football can change so quickly. So I wouldn't say it's impossible. Leeds United, who I think are almost definitely safe, but I think they're just about in it still. 2 points above Tottenham, 3 above the relegation zone. I think we both agree they'll be safe, right?
Yeah, I think it's like there's not really much. Obviously, there's a lot to say about Tottenham. There's not really much to say about Leeds in a sense. Like, recruitment was bang on. Daniel Farke's changes to, I mean, it was away to Man City where he decided to get away from trying to have the ball because that team wasn't built for that. Play more into his team's strengths. Bang on again. Great decision. And a lot of the players have stood out. Anton Stack's been great. Jakob Horsfall's been really impressive. He needs to come back into the team, to be honest. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, stood out massively. Like, it's just been a good season for Leeds. Like, maybe it could have gone a little bit better. Had they started a little bit better, they could probably be clear of this right now, probably sat comfortably in mid-table. But they're in a lovely position. Like, the only question that Leeds really have is, like, what do they do with Daniel Farke? Do they keep him in the summer? Do they try and move on and get better? Because he's shown, especially as of late, maybe some signs of stubbornness, which was a lot of Leeds fans' fears, I think, when they went up. But yeah, other than that, Leeds are absolutely living life. They're not going to go down, I don't think. Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah. I'll be amazed if Anton Stack is still there next season. I just think he's fantastic. And, like,
I think the age helps, probably.
Yeah.
Like, he's not early 20s like you would probably want. Like,
no.
Like, you know, like if an Arsenal or like a Chelsea were coming in.
Yeah.
You don't want someone 27, I think he is. But for sheer quality, like, why wouldn't like a Villa or like a Newcastle come and get him for the short term?
Exactly. He fits the archetype of what you want from a modern Premier League player so well too, of just this like physical beast. I can see someone coming in and getting him almost as like that Mikel Merino type player right at the top. It's maybe he's not going to start every week, but he's a guy that you can put on in the end of games, maybe when you're struggling, when you need a goal, and he's going to bring you that physicality into a game, dominate the midfield, but he's also got creativity in the final third. He's got set piece threat, even though I think he takes them for Leeds, right? But if you can put him in the box, I have no doubt that he could win a header.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But then he's got that technical quality as well to be able to play for a big team. I think if Leeds keep him, they've done a fantastic job because he's a brilliant player. Final prediction, who's going down with Wolves and Burnley?
The Tottenham and Burnley title race will be legendary. It will go down. And you know what I'm hoping? They come and get Scott Parker. That would be nice. Then they put a 30 million bid in for Jaden Anthony. That would be lovely as well. And then we watch them draw every game 0-0 because Parker Ball is awful.
You heard it here first. Tottenham Hotspur are going to play in the Championship next season. I think I'd go Spurs too. I hope it's Spurs, actually. It'd be nice if it was Forest, then you get Elliot Anderson on the cheap. But
yeah, I wouldn't mind if it was Forest,
amazing.
like the karma of like Nuno's kept this team up. You literally could have had Nuno, and you were too egotistical. Marinakis, you made the wrong decision. Like, you deserve it. But Tottenham in the Championship is great fun. Tottenham away in the Championship is even more fun. So yeah, bring it on, and we'll beat them into the league as well. So it's all right.
I have personal gripe with Nottingham Forest as well, because when they came up, they played Huddersfield in the playoff final, which is where I'm from, and it was a robbery. There were 2 stonewall penalties for Huddersfield that didn't even get checked on VAR, and it were. I'm not saying it's corrupt, but it was corrupt. Forest went up, and now they're in the Premier League, and Town are stuck in mid-table League One, which is what one game of football can do for you.
Yeah, literally.
I think it will be Tottenham Hotspur. But anyway, thanks for coming on, Jacob.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, make sure to give it a follow. It helps the show. Give us a little 5-star rating if you're feeling extra spicy. And hopefully come back as well. For on Monday, we've got John McKenzie on to do pressing, which if you're a little nerd, you'll enjoy that. So cheers for listening.